Thank you for tuning in and welcome to Errant Update! We have a lot of talk about today, so let's start with community feedback.
So, we have quite a few people liking the Dark Angel army from last episode. That's always nice. And some appreciation for the Patreon giveaway. Also nice. My good friends over at Frost and Fist, as well as Lizelmaid, seems very hyped for what's going on. Can't complain about that. And Lizelmaid also asks, not a fantastic paint job. You mentioned of a new release, and that makes me curious. Could you show us some paint jobs you do think are fantastic? I wouldn't know where to look for such a thing, and I'd love to see what you consider spectacular. Right. First of all, it's really not fair for me to pick on a model painted up by the Eavy Metal team for a new release model. This is not intended to be the standard of a Golden Demon winner or a Crystal Brush. But that being said, I do think the studio paint jobs on Games Workshop have been losing soul over the years. With the one we talk about specifically here, the Thousand Suns Terminator that came out last week, I actually think the paint job was outright boring and kind of lazy. I mean, there were visible, clumsy brush strokes in several places, and you didn't get the feel that whoever painted it actually wanted that model to end up looking good. So, for an example of a good miniature showcase paint job, I'd say the old White Dwarf, Eavy Metal's 80s, early 90s creations. I mean, here we have some Terminators, and bear in mind the models back then did not have anything like the level of detail we have today, and they were in metal. There were no crisp, sharp edges. Everything was a bit rounded, and yet I remember as a kid being completely blown away whenever I opened the new White Dwarf just by these little pictures. And it's not just because I think they should take the time to paint in some black and yellow stripes and everything. It's also just the attention to the individual Terminator's detail. I have another picture here with various Space Marines, and again the attention to personal heraldry, and for both of these example pages, the fact that they do not look painted as such, they look colored, and I think that is very important for studio paint jobs to be able to get a smooth result, if they want to sell miniatures, that is. I totally understand that Games Workshop is leaning towards the direction where the paint jobs they show off are paint jobs that you and I could successfully manage, but with the amount of product to make painting easier these days, I don't think it would be unfair to expect them to at least, especially at Forge World where we know they use airbrushes and such, at least be careful about visible brush strokes or clumsy transitions. As for fantastic paint jobs, I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and sitting here, I still really can't decide where to point you. But Samson over at Samson Minis at Blogspot is doing fantastic stuff with a combination of brushwork and airbrush work, and I am generally blown away by pretty much everything he does. Even those manga-ish big robot models that I don't really like, I think he makes them look rather good. and another guy, Kevin Boucher, over at Next Level Painting. Um, he does magic stuff with an Evata. Again, it blows me away, and I'm glued to the screen every Friday when a new tutorial comes up. So yeah, that would be my take on awesome paint jobs. Edic says that we'll be at 500 subscribers in no time. That is very true. Turns out that we're past 480 now, so 80 the last week. That's pretty good. 87 CWS 85. Yeah, reminds me that it is easy to kit bash Ashriel out of Balthazar. Yeah, I do have an extra Balthazar model kept in reserve for that exact purpose, actually. But I also have actually acquired from eBay the little assy model, and I think for collector's purpose, and because I am sure that we will either get a new Asriel or Lionel Johnson model in the near future, within a year or so, that that it would be fun to have little Assy, at least for the cabinet, and then have a proper mini for a special character warlord, and as in a newer one. Because to be honest, I think the Balthazar miniature it's fine for Balthazar, but it doesn't have the named character vibe that you expect when compared to Belial or Samael. They have a lot more personality to the mini, and Balthazar is basically the generic company master. I think with the exception of a single limited edition one, all generic company masters have been Balthazar with his helmet, his sword, and the fifth company stuff on the showcase paint job. I actually have the Finecast Balthazar somewhere too. Oh, never mind. Nightwing with an H. Building up Dark Angel army, roughly 240 power level. I don't do translation between points and power level good, but I think that's quite a bit. Actually, I think our first Errant battles was 50 power levels, so that's that should be a bigger army than mine, I think. Yeah, Demi Battle Company plus Raven Wing and Deathwing. That's probably a bigger army than I have. Coolskin asks if it was the Diablo soundtrack used in the beginning last episode. It most certainly was. I like to now and then just play around, do something different for intros and outros. And coming out of a portal seemed like, yeah, I actually don't know where that idea came from. I remember getting the idea that I wanted a TARDIS to land and then emerge from that, and then I don't know why I did the portal thingy. Taylor Bond says he needs something to keep him motivated to paint the hordes of plastic. Yeah, I think we all do from time to time. My solution, and I know this doesn't work for everybody, but that is that I have 4 armies that I'm working on. I have the Nurgle army for Mother Nurgle, the Necron army for Sleeping Bear, then I have my Dark Angels, and then I have my combined AdMech. And you can't see that, but to both sides of me there are 2 cabinets, one with each army. And I am currently in the living room, so they're there all the time. I can look at them. I can be like, oh, I really need to get something done to fill out this shelf to look right, and also as I'm switching between my own 2 armies and 2 other armies, I also have the interaction with Mother Nurgle and Sleeping Bear, which means that that motivates me a lot. I'm not saying you should paint your friends' armies, but yeah, have some kind of painting contact with other people who plays, even if they don't paint, where you regularly get positive feedback on what you're doing, even if it's just, I never want to play you again now that you painted another night, or whatnot. And our longtime subscriber Henry Mendes enjoyed the army showcase. I'm glad I did too. So that was a quick rundown of the comments of last week's update. If you have anything you want to ask me, or something you just wanna get out there, let me know below this video, and I'll go through them next week. Nikita Hunia, I'm still sorry if I'm butchering your name there, but anyway, Nikita has sent me some pictures, as we talked about last episode. That if anybody have something they'd like to show off and that we can talk about, that is absolutely something we can do here at the update, and I think that would be a really fun returning event. So if you're sitting out there and have pictures of your project that you want feedback on or some such, by all means, send them to me over at my Facebook page. That is by far the easiest way to avoid them getting lost. Nikita sent me these wonderful pictures of his Primaris Dark Angel conversions. And these obviously are right up my alley. So let's start by having a look at his Primaris Captain. That head fits much better than I would actually have expected. Looking good, a very believable position. Also, always nice to see the Fifth Company knee pad. Makes me very happy. Staying true to the Dark Angel colors all the way through. Red gun casing. Like the highlight, looks very much like the ones I do. And the red cloak, I've been myself only recently warming up to the idea of using red when painting Dark Angels for anything else other than the gun case, but it really being the obvious contrast to green, it works very well, I think, and this is no exception. I like that what do you call it? The inside of the cloak is kept cream, so that all the Dark Angel colors pretty much are actually represented on this this company master. This guy, I actually think I like the best. Even if the icon of the backpack seems a bit overwhelming, I think that will fix itself once he is painted. And also, being a lieutenant, it makes perfect sense that he needs to be visible throughout the battlefield. And that head, if I'm not mistaken, it's from the Deathwing veteran box, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It looks so great the way the hood merges with the power armor. I might actually might steal that idea for a Primaris, because I'm thinking stuff like the Primaris Librarian, or Lieutenant is not a bad choice either, but I really want to do something with that. It really, because of the high Errant pattern-ish color of their power armor, this looks way better than it would on any other mark of armor, I think. Also, for the first time, the heads from the Deathwing box doesn't seem too big, because the Primaris guys are that much bigger. And this guy, again, it is amazing what a head swap can do. They look like, all of a sudden, like proper Dark Angel miniatures, and I'm almost regretting not head swapping myself. I did consider getting the Forge World Dark Angel 30k helmets for all my Mark 10 guys, but at the time of release, I had no idea how many Mark 10 guys I would pick up, and with our codex still pending, that might end up becoming a very tiresome and expensive affair. I think that works very, very well. If I'm not mistaken, actually, that is not even a head swap. That is actually just the wings from the multipod head on the Veteran's Brew added to the Primaris helmet. That is very clever. I hadn't even considered that. Yoinks! I'm gonna steal that. That is a really, really good idea. So yeah, Nikita, always enjoying getting pictures from you. Nikita was the first person to ever send me pictures back when I did the walkway tutorial, and it is my favorite kind of feedback, because then we can actually start spar back and forth between us. I can try to make tutorials based on requests and steal your guys' idea once you send me pictures of what you do with them. I like that. Sorry. So, time for this week's hobby update. And this week we're going to take a look at the Nurgle army. It's not as big as the two previous armies, but it is the one I am actively currently working on, and it is the most relevant due to the Codex release schedule, right? So let's go have a look at that.
So here is the small Nurgle force that I've finished so far. I have a ton of Poxwalkers and Monopose Plague Marines and another Hellbrood and another Bloat Drone, as well as a few of the characters ready for paint, or half painted. And I also have a whole start collecting Nurgle Demons kit I need to get cracking at. And then I'd like to have the book in my hand and see the prices of the new releases before I add any more. Also, I'll need to convert the Monopose Plague Marines to make them interesting and to give all or at least some of all the new exciting options. The Poxwalkers you've seen before. I still only have the 16 I've painted up on camera, because I have 4 sprues of 10 each lying here next to me, and I have 16 more Poxwalkers coming in, and as soon as the mail hits I'll get cracking on those, because as I mentioned in my tutorial, I want to do them all in one go, because it is pretty much as time consuming as doing them 10 at the time. Still really happy with them though. The Hellbrood, the Dark Vengeance one, I think it is great for Nurgle. And I've never, before I painted it up, noticed how many details it has that is actually exactly the same as you find on the Nurgle models. Like these flesh tubes with metal underneath. There are tentacles there. And the mouthy parts also echo the newer Nurgle models. So all in all, oh, and of course, if painted like it, he actually had a hive on his back. So yeah, I'd say get on eBay, pick these up. I've seen them for yeah, next to nothing, and they fit really, really well with the new plastic Nurgle series. The Bloat Drone, I was a bit concerned if my painting scheme would translate well to this, but I am actually very satisfied with it, especially the reddening around the armor plates and straps. I have 2 of these, and I'm glad I didn't get more, because I really wanna get the multipod ones, and even though it would probably be really easy to just change the guns with spare guns from the multipod set, the design is a bit too unique to have several that looks exactly alike next to each other when the multi-part box allows for so many different front plates and such. The Death Guard, as shown in the tutorial, I have on my table in the house right now a lot of these fellas. So even before I start converting and stuff, there will be enough for at least a couple of good units for the first battle reports. The only finished HQ, also quite happy with him actually. I didn't really like the model when I first saw it, but as with all these new Nurgle things, toning down the amount of different colors and clean and vibrant hues, I think really did him a lot of favors. And he was actually really fun to paint. My plate bearers, as I'll show in the next episode of Errant painting, how I do. They're pretty straightforward, but I think they look really good. I especially like the effect of the swords and how well the miniatures lend themselves to effect paints. I mean, as you can probably tell, I've used an unprecedented amount of Blood for the Blood God on these, and I actually don't think it looks too silly. Also, I don't know if the camera catches this, but as with the Poxwalkers, I tend to make a bit of variation in the skin tones, just so that the unit doesn't look too monotone. And yeah, that works really well, I think, especially for tabletop value. And finally, the two Chaos Spawns. I want a bunch more of these. I don't know if they're viable at this point, but I love the Chaos Spawn kit, and I think they are really fun to paint. Especially in a Nurgle themed army. I mean, there are just so many possibilities to Nurgle it up, make them different and fun, and yeah, I don't know how else to put it other than that they are a joy to work with, and sometimes that should be reason enough to have them, right? So yeah, those are the finished models. I really look forward to do an update on this force, because I imagine it will grow drastically over the coming weeks. Well, and yeah, back to the studio.
And we're back. And for next week's hobby update, we're going to take a look at the Skitarii AdMech Night Force. It is even smaller actually, but seeing as the pre-order for that book is up by then, it would be wrong not to jump into that, and that would also mean we had a showcase of all the 4 armies I'm working on, and then we can actually start to do some proper updating once we have a baseline to work from, right? So, time for the news. Starting over at Games Workshop, as just mentioned, Dawn of the Death Guard. As usual, a lot of one-click collections. I really wish they would stop that. I can't help but feeling like I'm being spoken down to. Like, you wouldn't be able to handle the fact that we put out 5 items, so yeah, let me bundle them for you. Let's save the elephant in the room for a little bit, and just scroll past the big guy. Because first off, I would actually like to talk about the accessories. I love when they do release accessories. Data cards, I pray and hope that they will not make the mistake of making these limited this time around, because the game just works better with them, and I actually think they've done a great job. It seems with the general layout, recognizable what do you call it, card backs, and the addition that it is not only your psychic powers or only what do you call it, tactical objectives, but we also get all the stratagems, which with uh, as things are looking right now, that is a must to successfully being able to play an army. At least if you have a brain like mine. I can't just stand there and flip around in the book and be like, "Oh, right, I just happen to have this and could do that." I need my cards in front of me and a game plan to work with. So as long as these are not limited, I'm all in. Keep making reference cards. I love it. These, yeah. It's not that I doubt they actually roll. Probably it's more the fact that they are so damn ugly. And I don't say that a lot, but I really don't like those. Something does not look diseased and crackled if they are, how many? 20 exactly alike dice. That totally defeats the purpose of the corroded look. Also, the colors are, well, just clean, and as a functional die, they fail too, because right now, yes, you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but roll out 20 of those babies and pick up all the threes in a hurry. It's I I like that they actually seem to be limited, because perhaps now, if they don't sell, Games Workshop will realize that perhaps that wasn't the best idea ever. Um, Apparently, it's hard plastic with a foam core, which might help with the weight issue, but still, I doubt that will be good dice. I don't even know how you would test that if it has a foam core. Usually, you can test a die by putting it in water with a bit of salt. Don't know what you would do there. Anyhow, limited edition codex. I think I mentioned this in a previous video too. I'm not getting it because I'm getting a lot of codices, and money starts to become an issue when you get into that. But compared to previous limited edition codices, I think this is by far the prettiest one. I mean, it captures the army essence. I mean, this is the reverse of the dice we just looked at. This actually looks very Nurgle, even if I disagree with the use of corrosion. Well, that's just my taste in color choices. I think it looks really, really good. I like that they're making small command point, turn, victory point counter thingies, especially with the Nurgle symbol. That is very, very clever. And overall, it's pretty. I like it. And I like that if you're going to charge 10 times the amount because something is limited, then do it right. I mean, back in World of Warcraft, I used to pick up all the collector's boxes because they were just so well made. So yeah, what confuses me is that there is a collector's edition while this is the limited edition. And what this is apparently is it is the same book, only slightly nicer, with a nicer cover. Yeah, but then again, it's only twice as much as just buying the codex. I do believe that was how they did the early 6th edition collectors too. I remember I have somewhere the Dark Angel and the Chaos one, and I think that was something along the lines of that. But the whole idea of a collector's edition kind of died when when they started spurting out codices and changing rules very very fast. Now I like the idea with the indexes and stuff that let's just get the rules out there and let's play and let's get some new when they update. Because Papa Nurgle knows I have enough old game supplements lying around that I am too attached to throw out. So picking up limited collectors stuff is not helping. Plague Brethren. This also, I think I mentioned this. I think it's unfair. I've been painting up monopose Plague Marines for a couple of weeks now, and then it turns out they made 10 sculpts for them, and then additional 3 sculpts for the easy to assemble ones, and the 3 sculpts they have yet to use they put in a limited edition, pretty expensive box with some art prints and 3 minis. Meh. That annoys me because I want the minis, but as I just mentioned, I don't need all this limited stuff to be lying around filling up my hobby shed. And I still live on a planet where if you had a few extra sculpts and wanted to do a limited run of them, then put them in White Dwarf. It's I mean, they have nothing to offer except for a melter gun that we don't have already on the existing models. They are nice additions, and the completionist in me really want to add them to the units for variety, but I think that is a really weird idea, especially because again, Webstore only, limited edition. Last time I checked, when they make a plastic mold, that mold is supposed to be be able to spit out gazillion minis. So if they made the mold, why not just make another 3 Death Guard bucks for the same price as the easy assembled ones? I don't get it. Oh well. Now to the release that has been getting a lot of negative attention around the internet. And can I just say, I love him. I want Materia. I want to paint him so bad. I totally don't get why the Eavy Metal crew chose to clean him up, so to say. And I'm still confused what's going on with the choice of red and purple. But from what I can see here, his sculpt, the amount of very busy, as many people have said, detail is he is the avatar of the product line we're watching being released these days. I mean, he fits right in. If he had been more plain, I think he would have looked very wrong next to a Death Guard army. And as I've mentioned in my tutorials, the busyness of these models, for a lot of it, comes from the fact that everything has been painted like individual objects, and it is easily fixable by adding a simpler paint job. If I have to point something out, it's the smoke. But watching him now at a strong, I just realized that he is not standing on smoke. It's simply weirdly clean blue-white cloth. There are stitches in there. So once that's painted in some nice dirty brown, I actually think it will be limited to that little puff of smoke at the top of his head, and even the puff on the sky seems to be optional. So that is actually really nice. I like that a lot. So yeah, can't wait to paint him. I think he is beautiful. Um, and it's not that I think the paint job on him here is bad. I mean, each individual element look great. It's that when you put them all together, I get confused. So many different colors, and they all seem to want to do something different. So anyway, I all in all, though I I did have some rocks to throw. I think this new release is lovely. Um, I watched the Codex review over at Mini Wargaming where they showed off all the coming units, and must admit I totally get why they spread out the releases, but I kind of wish they would just dump it all on us in one big go so that I could start planning and looking at what costs what and how many of those do I need and stuff like that. Also, I really want to see sprues because as I love to kit bash and convert, I want to see how monopose are these new minis that are coming out, how many extra bits can we expect, how much can we customize them. Yeah. Anyhow, super hyped for Mortarion. I haven't pre-ordered him because I figured we'd need to have a bigger Nurgle collection before I add a Primarch to it. But I did order the book and the cards. So once I have those, we'll of course also talk about that. That was news from Games Workshop. Um, a lot of Nurgle is raining down upon us these days, but that's okay. I like it. I love painting Nurgle stuff, and I actually think if I were to borrow the army from Mother Nurgle, I would also really enjoy playing Nurgle stuff. Next up, my lovely, lovely, fantastic patrons have unlocked Errant Academy, and wee, that is fantastic. Not only because there is fantastic motivation in getting that kind of support, but also the fact that I've actually I've been playing around with so many ideas for this show that now that I'm actually getting into it, it's like starting up the excitement of starting up the channel all over again because we're going all the way back to basics. For those of you who don't know, Errant Academy is going to be a weekly show with where we cover a basic thing about miniature painting in every episode. So we'll start off super basic with priming and most necessary techniques to actually get a usable tabletop result, and then we'll work our way up the ladder till we get into the more advanced stuff. Also, simple stuff like what to buy, what not to buy, where can you cut corners, stuff like that. I'll try to take as much experience as I can and pour it straight into this series. And for the stuff where I feel that I am not competent enough to teach the subject, I will do my best to pull in guest teachers to to go into depth with, for instance, a technique that I am not actually using myself or stuff like that. And another element that will be in Errant Academy will be some special episodes where I invite somebody who is not a miniature painter or somebody who wants to become a miniature painter and simply give them give them a model, explain the techniques to them, preferably techniques we've been going over in previous episodes, so that you can see the result they get based on the tutorial you yourself have been watching, and hopefully this will make it easier to predict the result when you set out to get that board game, army, warband, whatever, ready for the tabletop. Errant Academy will launch on the 5th of October. So that is 3 weeks from now. I know I originally said that I would launch it 2 weeks after the goal was reached, but due to some due to various preparations that I want to get right before launching the show, I've given myself this extra week just to have the material ready because I basically because I want to do it right. I want this to be the playlist that you can always go back in and find that episode where this subject was covered and use it pretty much as a guidebook. So a huge thanks to my patrons. Also remember that Errant patrons right now are in contest for the modded Nerf gun. We'll talk more about that later. But every pledged dollar is a ticket in the raffle, and if this is a success and I get positive feedback on that idea, I think we will do more of those because I think that's actually quite funny. So yeah, Errant Academy coming up. I think I'll make a trailer or a teaser or something to throw up there sometime next week, and I hope it will be the success that I predicted will. And speaking of stuff going on this channel, this week on Errant painting, Wednesday we are going to paint more Nurgle, obviously, because this is the Nurgle week. Last week were also a Nurgle week. Next week might have some Nurgle elements to it, but this is definitely the Nurgle week because the pre-order is up, and this Saturday we'll be cracking open our books and go Nurgle crazy. And of course, we'll also, as soon as we have the book, get working on some battle reports. Anyway, Wednesday we're painting Nurgle demons, and the model we're going to use will be a plague bearer, but the idea is that the techniques and the color scheme will be usable for any Nurgle demon, and even Chaos Spawns. You could also use it actually to paint Poxwalkers. Might work pretty well on a Plague Marine too. I think actually might want to test that out at some point. Anyway, it is a simple technique based off on the shade base code as just like the Poxwalkers and as you can see it on Warhammer TV. But then I've added to it, and I painted my first 10 Plague Bearers quite a long time ago, and actually been wanting to do a tutorial on how I did those ever since. So yay, we're finally getting to that. That is nice. Friday we are getting some paint on the before mentioned Nerf gun. It's been disassembled, it's been cleaned, it is totally ready for its paint job, and I think that would be a lot of fun, even if you're not into cosplay or zombie shooting or LARP. The airbrush work and the brush work we're going to play with will be relevant for any hobby painter. Actually, we're going to have some fun with some transitions and stuff like that. So that'll be Friday. Saturday on Night Errant is the last episode with me, Lasfar, and Sleeping Bear that we recorded many nights ago. And it is perhaps the weirdest of the episodes. After that, there is a single episode where Sleeping Bear were literally sleeping bear with just me and Lasfar. So that's next week. And then I luckily have such a wonderful crew that we got a few episodes filmed this weekend, so we are not running out of episodes anytime soon. But yeah, that's the week on Errant painting, and I sincerely hope that you will join me for this another week of hobby fun. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. As mentioned earlier, let me know below if you have any questions. I'd love to start every episode with some question answering. And other than that, take care and bye bye.